Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having a great ending to your day, a great evening out there, and a great start to your work week. Got you an update on what's going on with the weather. Really, tonight, we have some surprise winter storm warnings that have now been upgraded from winter weather advisories in areas of Pennsylvania. Pretty crazy to see that certain areas, just from a pretty aggressive clipper kind of system, could see the most snow that they've seen all winter tonight in a very short amount of time. I'm talking like a 6 to 8 hour window, maybe even shorter for certain areas. It could absolutely unload snow for a several hour period. Certain areas could get 1 to 2 inch per hour rates. It's cranking up right now, and this could make its way, it will make its way all the way to the New York City metro, talking about areas of Long Island, also New Jersey. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how much snow this could pack. The National Weather Service getting quite aggressive with this and saying certain areas could see 6 to 8 inches of snow. So that certainly warrants winter storm warnings. And all this is going to fall overnight between this evening into the overnight hours. So we're going to talk about that. Then, of course, we're going to begin to focus on two storm system signals. And they could be two significant winter storms. Also, in the Northeast is going to be a heavy topic, I think, over the next several days. Also, the Great Lakes region, maybe even areas of the Ohio Valley and the Midwest, certainly. And then the north central U.S. And we'll try to figure out if there's going to be any kind of severe weather system with this right now. If there is any severe weather, it's not going to be a big deal, but that could increase in as we get closer in time with this system. But with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate the support. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, you know the deal. Please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get going tonight. Check this out. Winter storm warnings up for how many counties? Is it 6 counties in Pennsylvania? Winter weather advisories just south of Buffalo. No winter weather advisories for Buffalo. Nothing for Binghamton. You even got a couple counties in areas of New Jersey that have winter weather advisories. So pretty wild to see here. Scranton under winter weather advisory. No winter weather advisories for New York City. And let me see, because sometimes pivotal weather can lag a little bit. So let's see. Yep. So nope. I mean, no winter weather advisories for the immediate New York City area. So, nothing for Philadelphia or anything like that. So let's go on and jump right into this. First off, let's look at the radar and what's going on right now. HRRR models doing very, very well. I mean, it's raining in Cleveland. I mean, in Pittsburgh, it's in the 50s, close to 60 degrees. A lot of warm air down here. To the south, where a ridge really has a tight boundary of temperature setting up like this somewhere. But as we continue to move forward, this heavy precipitation will surge in general southeastward and, covering up all these areas with potential accumulating snow. This does include New York City, maybe even areas along Long Island, just north of New York City also. But, in this entire little section right here could get snow. Certain areas like New York City could potentially get their heaviest snow of the winter. This has continued to trend up a little bit, so maybe not just a few tenths of an inch of snow for New York City now. Maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow, certainly possible. We'll talk about snowfall accumulations here in a second, but this is ramping up. This is moving out of areas of Ontario. Still probably snowing. Well, it still is snowing back here in sections of Wisconsin, Michigan. So this has a while to work before it moves all the way into Pennsylvania and New York State. You can't see it over here because I only have the radar pulled up out of College Station, Pennsylvania. But we continue to watch this, and we'll start this around 7 p.m. So we're making this video at 6:39 p.m. So you might as well say this is what it's showing right now. It's doing pretty well showing it too. Snowing pretty heavily in Erie right now. This will continue. I think it'll start snowing in Scranton around probably 9, 10, 11 p.m. tonight. Here's the L popping up with the low pressure. And this area of snow right here will be quite heavy. Certain areas could see 1 to 2 inch per hour rates. I would not be surprised if we see a report of thunder snow. It's going to be certainly possible as we get to about midnight tonight. You might start off as a little rain in New York City. It got up into the 50s. It still probably is in the 50s in New York City right now. And you're thinking, how is it going to snow tonight? Well, watch. It's pretty wild how the weather can do sometimes. But check out this area of dark blue right here in kind of east central sections of Pennsylvania. It's snowing pretty good in these areas. Right here in central Pennsylvania, snowing pretty heavy. I think the rain can turn to snow in areas of College Station. Certainly is possible here. Let me see. I'm sorry, not College Station, guys. My bad. I meant to say State College. I think I do that quite often. I get College Station in Texas mixed up with State College in Pennsylvania. But we keep this rolling here. I think the rain will turn to snow, and it could be quite heavy. For example, I stop it right here. This is around 2 a.m. in the morning. Rain switches to some pretty heavy snow in New York City right into here. Snowing pretty good in areas of western Long Island, snowing in the entire northern half of New Jersey, snowing in all of eastern Pennsylvania, just about, except maybe far southeastern Pennsylvania. Keep this rolling, and it could snow all the way down the Jersey Shore as we're getting into about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I would say in New York City, you're probably going to have a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 hours of snow. And I think 1 to 2 hours of that snow could be quite heavy. And a lot of this will fall overnight. For example, some of you folks will, unless you work an overnight job or you're just a night owl or wake up really, really early, a lot of people will go to sleep and nothing's happening, and then they'll wake up and nothing's happening, but the ground will be covered in snow. It's kind of one of those events, especially for areas further southeast. But heck, as we get into Tuesday morning, it's gone. Okay? So this is kind of what's going on right now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, I would say it's over then. So like a 10, 11 hour, storm system. And for some people, it's only like 7 to 8 hour long winter storm, which, is a long time. But I mean, we can have these 24 to 36 hour winter storms. So very quick hitting, guys. And so, one thing I'll show you is the snowfall rates, okay? We can get into a little bit later tonight around this evening. Right here, just south of the southern tier of New York State and northern sections of Pennsylvania, you could get 1 to as much as 2 inch per hour rates falling in this area. And this eventually could work its way into areas of eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, where, heck, a half inch to inch per hour rates could even move into areas like New York City. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Of course, the surfaces are, sorry, got something in my eye here. Of course, the surfaces are pretty warm, so you're going to have to get a heavy burst of snow to kind of overcome the warmer surfaces, but still, definitely can dump a lot of snow quick. National Weather Service, quite aggressive. It's showing this right here in kind of the purple color. That's around 6 to 8 inches of snow predicted in this section where the winter storm warnings are up for northern Pennsylvania. This is well north of State College. But any of the small towns, communities right in this area, heavy snow. You'll be the epicenter of this quick hitting event tonight. Snow's already falling in these sections right here. Not sure what you've already got in Erie. But just south of Buffalo, certainly a few inches of snow is possible. But check it out. I mean, you get into the New York City area. Check out New Jersey. A couple inches of snow is possible tonight. They're going for 1.5, maybe as much as 2 inches of snow around New York City. This is actually shifted a little bit further south, so maybe the southern sections. A few tenths of an inch of snow here in Long Island, but really you got to work your way into western sections of Long Island to see anything closer to the city. But I would tell you, the blend of all models not quite as aggressive, and I'm tempted to just be more conservative, and snowfall lovers aren't probably going to like that, but I like the blend of all models a little bit better. I'm not. It's not a knock on the National Weather Service, but I'm going to be really surprised if we get an 8 and 9 inch snowfall reading here in northern Pennsylvania. But if we do, hey, I mean that's crazy. But still, the blend of all models going for around 1.5 inches of snow in New York City, northern central New Jersey, a couple inches of snow, especially in these higher hills in northern New Jersey. So, all right, move past that. Let me know what y'all see. Please let me know what y'all are seeing in the morning, because by the time we wake up in the morning, the system will be done. So I would love to hear reports all across Pennsylvania, New York State, New York City. You guys have only picked up like 2.2 inches of snow in New York City, so this could be your biggest snow of the year, which is pretty pathetic considering all things here. But let's talk about the storm signal coming for the European, okay? We'll talk on the Euro, then the GFS for the central portions of the country. So we'll start this around Wednesday morning. You got areas of light snow up here in the Dakotas and Minnesota, but a lot of moisture will begin to bubble up here in Iowa. Watch this as we move forward here. Iowa, Nebraska. We're getting into Thursday morning, more widespread light to moderate snow. in Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota, northern half of Nebraska. But then this is when the real moisture increase happens. Sometime Thursday afternoon, you start to get, a pretty widespread area. And I don't think everybody in this entire blue is going to be seeing snow falling. But I think that as you get closer to Thursday and then into Friday, I think it could be a widespread storm, but this is going to begin to consolidate into one area. And here it is. As it goes, we're getting into late, I would say Thursday evening. You got an all-out snowstorm going on for Iowa. Des Moines, you're right on the fringe. I would say it's snowing pretty heavily. Omaha, snowing in Omaha, snowing in the Dakotas, snowing in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And this is another hitter for you guys. The jury's still out for Chicago, okay? Chicago, the models continue to hone in on at least starting out as snow. So we'll start this Friday morning. You got snow moving into the city if it hasn't already. Snowing pretty heavily here in southwest Wisconsin. Snowing heavy in Milwaukee, Green Bay, moderate to heavy pace. Snowing pretty good Friday morning in northeast and eastern sections of Iowa. Then this begins to, move into more so just the Great Lakes region, but it stays all snow for Chicago. So you could have a winter storm or at least appreciable snowfall in Chicago. Could be the most you've seen all year. I don't want to predict that, but hey, the models are looking good for Chicago, for the European. And then this continues to move into Michigan, and then we'll look for the next storm, and here comes another storm behind it. How big will this be? We're not quite sure. It could get bigger in the Northeast, but here's the next system behind it. This energy right here could translate to something bigger for the Northeast as we're getting into early next week. Okay, but for the central part of the country, not that big of a deal right now. GFS for this first system, look, a lot more moisture further west off the GFS. For example, Thursday morning, this is a pretty significant winter storm for Nebraska, South Dakota, Omaha. You're right on the fringe. I would say you're over the fringe of the wintry side, so you're seeing a lot of winter weather. In fact, it shows a lot of heavy snow Thursday midday for Omaha. We need to figure out the track of this. This shows winter storm moving into Des Moines and almost all of Iowa. Heavy snow starting to move into Minneapolis and the southern tier of Minnesota. Heavy snow falling in Dakota still, especially South Dakota. But check it out for Chicago. First off, moisture moves in a lot quicker for Chicago. As early as Thursday evening, it's all snow for Chicago. All snow certainly for Milwaukee, which is a further north city, Green Bay. And we stop it here. This is late. Well, I wouldn't say late, but Thursday evening, around dinner time, this coming Thursday evening, you got heavy snow falling, especially just south of Minneapolis. Heavy snow falling in Iowa. And then you're just over the winter weather line here in Chicago. So that means you would get some pretty heavy snow, especially just north of the city. So snowing all the way through the night. Friday morning, the low pressure wants to move right over the city, so that would favor rain. But Milwaukee, heavy snow based off the GFS waking up Friday morning, and then this clears on out, okay? And then we look for our next system, which is a little bit colder, shows snow as far south as Kentucky. We got a lot to figure out about this one, and then this ends up translating to something bigger in the Northeast that we need to watch out for. And then cold air filters in behind both of these systems, really the second system. That's when our really cold air comes. So the European ensemble, between now and the next week, anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow from Montana. The Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, certainly several inches. The Rockies, the Front Range, a lot of snow, over a foot in certain areas. And then even the flatter regions of Wyoming, certainly several inches of snow is possible. But once you get into the Dakotas, certainly more of a hefty signal for heavier snow. South Dakota, northern sections of South Dakota, southern sections of North Dakota. Got to be careful. That's a little directional tongue twister there. A lot of snow, a 6 to 8, 9 inch mean showing up. But even in Nebraska, the northern sections of Nebraska, pretty solid mean showing up for you guys. The Ohio Valley, which basically shows the rest of the Midwest. It shows everybody outside the Ohio Valley, actually. But check it out. Between now and the next week, shows a pretty solid signal for more snow for Minneapolis, especially in southern and southwest sections of the state of Minnesota. Solid snow signal showing up for Iowa. Gets a little bit more questionable when we get to Chicago and northern Illinois, Michigan. But, I mean, you still got a 5-inch snowfall mean in Chicago, a little bit higher, and up into Milwaukee. So we certainly need to see what happens. We look at the GFS ensemble for the same area, and it is much more hefty. Okay, much more hefty. You know, we'll back it up and go back to the Northern Plains and look at it. And same idea, but just a lot more snow. But I will tell you, the GFS ensemble tends to just show way more snow. A little bit, it just has a bias towards showing more snow. It always does. This is probably a little overdone, probably really overdone, but in general shows the same kind of signal for a lot of snow over the next week for these sections. That's for sure. So we go back to the Ohio Valley, look at this again, and yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid signal for Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan for a lot of heavy snow. But even a signal a little bit for the Ohio Valley in the Midwest, but certainly not as heavy. Even showing a signal in the southern Appalachian Mountains where you could get a northwest flow event, especially once you get beyond 7 days. So, what about for the Northeast, my folks up here? So here comes the Euro. As we're getting into midweek, we're getting into Thursday. You have a little bit of a flow out the northeast, so you're going to be dealing with just on and off snow showers possible in the interior northeast. We're getting into Friday morning, and then we're getting into overnight Friday into Saturday morning. This is when the Euro shows a wave of snow that moves. Could be kind of snowy in the higher elevations of West Virginia. Wave of snow that moves through Pennsylvania in the overnight hours, Friday into Saturday morning. Waking up Saturday morning, shows some snow as far south as northern Maryland. But then the system kind of strengthens and gets jolted southward. And you're thinking, well, man, this was heading right towards southern New England. Well, the latest Euro, has this storm just kind of digging south, just due to probably a cold air push. High pressure is suppressing this. So the first system does nothing, really, for anybody from New York State, points northeast. Okay? But then look at the next system behind it. Same kind of track. What about the cold air? Getting into around this time, basically a week from today, shows snow moving into northern New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, southern New England. Another very strong low pressure. Now this, to me, looks like a nor'easter. But we don't know that for sure. Of course, we're getting into mid-March, so you're struggling with temperatures. You've been struggling with it all winter. So the coastal regions in the southern New England will be all rain, but areas like Boston, points north and northwest and west, you're just cold enough for snow and maybe heavy snow. Then this begins to bomb out. Now, this isn't a forecast. Remember, we're well past 7 days, but this begins to bomb out, and then you get extremely heavy snow falling somewhere in the northeast next week. And this is a hefty signal. This would be an impactful storm system, one of the biggest of the winter that we've seen so far this winter. Okay, so we'll watch that for sure. What does the European show for the same signal? Well, I can already tell you, the GFS, as we're getting into, Friday afternoon, is already different with just the first system. This brings some heavy snow into the southern tier of New York State, areas of Pennsylvania that favors cutters initially. Heavy snow initially for Buffalo, heavy snow moving into areas of Ontario, and just shows a more impactful system this weekend. Shows some heavy snow as we're getting into Saturday morning for the interior northeast. This is all rain for New Jersey, all the way up to Boston, everybody in between along the I-95 corridor. But then look at the low pressure popping off here as it's a transfer off a coastal low. 988 millibar low pressure is pretty strong. Getting into midday Saturday, and we got a hefty snow event developing for southern New England. This is heavy snow falling in Boston. This is very heavy snow falling in Massachusetts, Connecticut, southern New Jersey, southern Vermont. I mean, it's coming down, and this thing just kind of twists, kind of gets trapped, and throws some snow all the way as far north as the down east areas of Maine, and then this heads on off. And then check it out. We're getting into Monday, and then into Tuesday of next week, and here comes that other set storm that the European's showing, but this is way off the coast, which means you have more cold air that comes in, but you got a pretty strong system, a 975 millibar low pressure off the latest GFS. This is 7 to 8 to almost 9 days out. And this is bringing in a huge precipitation shield, you know, all the way along the I-95 corridor, snowing all the way into the Delmarva, all the way up to Boston. And then it really is just bombing out here. You got a 966 millibar low pressure off the latest GFS, massive storm system. The pattern favors this in general. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this second system, we really need to watch. We'll see how this trends. But this, you know, wants to not throw a lot of precipitation inland. But, you know, we're looking at the storm for, this is 9 days out, but this is throwing some big time snowfall totals very, very close to the main inland areas. Land areas is what I'm trying to say. And just look at this thing twisting out here. This looks like a hurricane out here. This is a massive, and we'll get a more broader look at this. Look at this system out here. Just insane. You know, it was a pretty crazy run. And then after that, we have to watch cutters. Okay. But the latest European ensemble, but remember, this is what's falling tonight, so don't count that. But here comes the signal. Here comes the first storm signal. Okay. Not that heavy. It really isn't. In fact, I think if anybody's going to get snow, it's for the areas that are going to see it tonight. But check out how it increases with this second storm system. Okay. Big increase. You're thinking, man, it doesn't look like winter's over for the Northeast. Well, it's not. And you can get some crazy things that could potentially happen with this down here, too, to the south. So watch out, Virginia, Maryland. I would watch out. GFS ensemble through the same range. Of course, it's looking insane because the GFS and the GFS ensemble likes to do this. But, you know, of course, it wants to show you these crazy amounts. But just in general, just know that watch out the southeast also, not necessarily for snow, but typically when you get a big storm system for the northeast, you get a big storm system for the southeast, except for this time of the year, it's typically rain. So, two big storm systems, especially that second one, coming up for the country, okay? Temperatures, really quick, we'll go over this. Enjoy for a lot of people in the south tomorrow. Tomorrow will be your last, in fact, for areas that saw 70s all the way up into the Ohio Valley and Midwest regions, you'll get a rude awakening tomorrow when you drop all the way down to the 40s and maybe 30s for certain areas. So it'll flip right back to winter tomorrow, guys. So just want to let you guys know that. But temperatures, so we'll hang on to a really nice day across the southeast, the deep south. But check this out as we get into Wednesday morning. All of a sudden, you're flirting with a freeze in North Carolina. You're getting a frost, and you're thinking, man, I thought this was over. Nah, it's not. It's not over, okay? And then all of a sudden, you go from the 80s to maybe the 50s and the 60s in certain areas. You're still hanging on to the warmth in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, but, you know, it gets even colder. I mean, we're getting into Thursday, pretty chilly look for the southeast and the mid-south, hanging on to the warm air in the south-central U.S. Chilly looking day for Friday as a cold air damming look kind of begins to evolve. And you really, you know, you're still hanging on to some warm air down here in the south, but really what I watch as we get into early next week, this is when some really cold air begins to kind of dive into the eastern U.S. We'll stop it here. This is next Wednesday morning. Solid freeze for a lot of the eastern U.S. And, I mean, you got 40s all the way down deep into Florida. And this is when I think that cold air push comes. I really think sometime next week. So that's all I got, guys. We'll continue to figure out this storm signal. Interesting times ahead for you folks in the Northeast for sure. And we'll continue to monitor everybody else too. God bless all y'all. Have a great rest of your night. I'll talk to you in the morning.